So let's talk about it. Now, there were so many times I wanted to quit trading, losing a lot of money. And it was like making the fast money was really, addicting. Making, $100 in 10 minutes or $500 in 30 minutes. And it's like, man, you see the potential. You actually see the potential. You see that you can actually make a decent amount of money trading the market. But the other part, that we have to go through just to get that consistency, right? We have to go through losing a whole bunch of different strategies. So it's like, do I really want to go through this again? And with me, when I first started out, it was bad. Like, bro, I didn't have, I'm quite sure you heard of beginner's luck. Like, I didn't have no beginner's luck. I mean, the first trade, I was trading penny stocks at the time. The first trade I took, I think I made around, maybe $600 I probably made, around there. And I thought I had it all figured out. And of course, after that, boom, losing after losing. I couldn't read the market right. It was just horrible. So for me, I went down this path where I wasn't profitable for years, no, winning year at all. It was just straight losing year after year after year, right? So with me, I didn't have no beginner's luck. At least some people, they have beginner's luck. They win for 5-6 months straight or even a whole year. I didn't have none of that, guys. So me, I was going through a dark, a dark path where it was just nothing. No. Honestly, I don't know. I just kept going, but we're going to talk about that later, why I kept going. But before I even get into that, I want to just tell you guys my story, how I really got into trading and how I, basically kept going even though it was dark for me, and hopefully this video will convince you not to give up, because I know some of you guys are right there. You want to give up. So let's rewind back. Let's go back to, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I was growing up in New York, Queens, New York. And, I was, a decent kid, shy. Didn't really talk that much. But, I wasn't really getting in trouble. I always felt like I didn't fit in. I always looked at the world differently. It felt like everybody was a follower, and I wasn't really a follower. But even though I was more to myself, laid back, shy, whatever, I still was popular. Like, a lot of people knew me, I guess my aura, whatever. I drew a lot of people to me. Everybody wanted to talk to me. Everybody wanted to be my friend. So I knew a lot of people. I was actually popular. And, we was actually, when I was a kid, living in the hood. My mother was on welfare. She was pretty much a single mother, taking care of 4 kids. And, it was rough, And at the time, I didn't know we was poor. I was just a kid, just growing and having fun and so on. But I definitely knew that we were living in the hood. It was bad, right? And finally, we moved out the hood. We got a place at one of my mother's friends. And then after that, we moved out. We got an apartment, and then we finally got our first house, right? I remember it was like yesterday. We got our first house. And from there, I just lived there until I just moved out and, became an adult, whatever. Now, fast forward to high school, again, laid back, didn't really get in trouble that much, but I was popular. A lot of people knew me. And, I didn't really do that good in high school, because I didn't really study that much. Honestly, I didn't really care about school that much. I didn't study. I didn't do anything extra to actually have good grades. And I remember I barely graduated, because I remember at the time, they told me, hey, this is my last year. Hey man, if you don't pass these 2 tests, you're gonna have to go to summer school. And I'm like, man, that hit me hard, because I never got left back before. I never went to summer school before. So I'm like, man, I gotta study. So I remember studying like crazy. I studied, and it actually paid off. I passed those 2 tests, and I finally graduated, right? And when I graduated, even before I graduated, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Like, how people ask you, hey, what you want to be when you grow up? I didn't know. So when I graduated high school, I knew, okay, I didn't want to go to college at all, because I'm like, I don't think I would actually sit there for 4 years straight and actually do the work. So I told my moms, hey, I'm going to take a year off. And in the back of my mind, I was hoping she was like, oh, forget about it. But nope, the year passed. She set me down, like, what do you want to do? So I'm like, at the time, me and my brothers, we was actually racing cars. So I was into cars. So I said, I guess, I go to a trade school. Okay. So I went to a trade school, an automotive school, to, learn how to fix cars, to be certified. And I did that, for 2 years, I believe. And then after that, I got certified. I was working, because my brothers had a shop. I was working there a little bit, but my first job was Pep Boys, right? And then I was working there for a little bit, and then I worked at another auto shop called Strauss. I don't know if they still open or whatever. And after that, I was working for Honda, the dealership, right? So I was basically a technician working on cars, and I was there, and I was there for for a minute, and then I got laid off, right? And then I went to another Honda dealership, and while I was there, something hit me. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to really work on my hands. I got tired of working on cars. I was just thinking about just, trying to do something, and working at my brother's shop, actually, this sparked something inside of me. Like, wow, I like how they working for themselves. I think I need to do something like this. Anyway, I got, laid off. And then from there, I actually got a job at another dealership, and I was just doing valet there, right? Because I didn't really want to work on cars. I just want to save enough money to do something. And I finally figured out what I wanted to do. So I came up with the idea where I'm going to buy and sell cars, okay? Because at the time, Craigslist was popping. I was looking at the list, and I was looking at cars. Since I knew about cars, I was like, oh, you know what? This car is underpriced. Like, if I buy this car, I can flip it for this and that and that. So while I'm working, I'm on my phone, and I'm looking at, the different, cars and on Craigslist. So I finally saved up enough money. I quit that job, and I got into buying and selling cars, okay? So I bought a car. My first car, I sold it in 3 days. I bought it. I think only thing was wrong with it was an exhaust. Even with the exhaust, I knew for a fact I could sell that car more than what this lady was selling, okay? So boom, I bought the car. I bought it for $900. I think I sold it for $1,600 within 5 days. Actually, not 5 days, with 3 days. So I made what, $700 or close to that in 3 days. So I got hooked, and I was doing really good with that. So that's like when my first real entrepreneur journey, started. Like, I was like working for myself, paying my bills from this, saving up money from this. And at the time, I was looking at a Volkswagen on Craigslist. I was like, okay, I could definitely. I think at the time, nothing was really wrong with it. I think I just had to fix maybe a couple of things, but I was like, okay, I know he's selling it is undervalued. So I called him up. I went over there, and while I was looking at the car, I'm like, yo, this car is dope. I know I can sell it for way more. This guy kept talking about, some stock. So I'm like, I left it alone because, he talked about it, but he kept talking about it and talking about it. So I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm like, so what is this stock thing? Like, how much do I have to invest, right? He said, you don't need that much. He said, you can, start with $1,000. So I'm like, okay, bet. So I took his number, called him up. He told me the stock that he was investing in. It was penny stock, of course. And then he showed me how to open up TD Ameritrade at the time. And basically, I opened up my broker account. I bought that stock, and I was sitting on it. And then while I was sitting on it, we was talking back and forth on the phone. And he was like, yo, bro, yes, we sitting on this stock right here. But during the day, there's other stocks that's going up, like crazy. So he would, once in a blue, he would like, hey, look at this stock, right? And I would look at the stock, and the stock would go crazy, right? And I'm like, I didn't really want to depend on him because it was like getting stocks from him. It was like, I felt like I was bothering him. Like, I was just like, yo, what stocks is popping today? Like, I didn't know nothing about the stock market until I was like, you know what? I'm not going to rely on him. let me start doing research. So I started doing research, start, figuring out, oh, wow, this stock is popping. Oh, wow. So I figured out how to basically make a watch list. And I started to see stocks going up 300%, 600%, 700%, 1,000%. I mean, these stocks was going crazy. So I'm like, bro, like, what is this? So I'm like, all I'm doing is calculating, like, this stock is going up 600%. So you mean that if I put $1,000 on this stock, I'm gonna make $6,000? And we talking about 600% in one day. So all these different numbers is just coming up my head. I'm like, yo, I'm never working again. Like, this is it, bro. Like, so I bought my first, I actually day traded my first stock. Boom, I put 600 in that stock. I flipped it. I think I made either 900 or 500 on that stock. Boom, the first day. I'm like, yo, in my head, I'm like, it's over. I'm about to make so much money. And guess what? I lost it. So I lost that profit. And what I did was, I was still buying, selling cars, but something inside of me said, go all in, bro. So all the money that I made from cars, I threw it, I put it in the stock market, start trading, and guess what? I lost everything, man. I lost everything. So I had to go back to work. It was tough, man, because, working for yourself, it feels good. You don't have no boss, and then had to go right back to work. Oh, man, that was tough. So anyway, went back to work, start saving up more money, and then I was like, okay, bet. I'm gonna quit this job because I'm not gonna work this job. I don't like working, right? So I quit the job, went back to the stock market, lost it all. So I went to a period of time where I'm go to a job, save up some money, quit that job, go back to the stock market, right? And I did that at least 3 times, 4 times, and I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, I gotta stop that. So I remember last time, I saved up enough money. I think I saved up at least 5,000. Went back, and this is when the market was going crazy, 2008. And finally, I caught a break where I tripled, I pretty much doubled my money within a week, right? And at the time, we don't have this no more, but at the time, we had like account managers, right? We can actually talk to a person from the broker, and I can talk to him on Skype, like, yo, hey, how you doing? I need this, I need that, or whatever the case is. I asked him a question. And I remember him hitting me up on Skype and say, yo, I see you doing good this week. I think you should withdraw some money. So in my head, I'm like, I ain't withdrawing nothing. I said, yeah, you're right. I'm definitely going to withdraw some money. I wasn't withdrawing nothing. So I kept trading, and guess what? I lost all that money, man. So at this time, man, I'm like, something has to change. So basically, the problem that I had was, I would make money, and one day, okay, I would blow it all. Like, I would probably revenge trade or do something, and I would blow it up in one day or a couple of days. And that was my problem. So I said, all right, let me just try to get a real job, save up more money, whatever the case is, right? So I tried to, get an interview at a job. I'm not even gonna say the company's name, whatever. I was qualified, put it like that. I didn't get a job, and then I applied again, I didn't get a job again. So I applied the third time. I never did this before in my life. Usually if I apply to a job, that's it. I'm not going back seconds or thirds. But this one I went third time, because I knew I wanted this job, because I saw, I could probably, have a decent career, and also I knew I was qualified. So the third time I applied for it, they called me up. Hey, come through. We want to talk to you. So at the time, I didn't know they called me. So a week passed, and I'm looking at my voicemail. I'm like, I checking my voicemails, and I'm like, yo, they called me. I'm like, yo, it's a week later. So I'm calling them up, like, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I just got your message. Oh, no, it's too late. We can't have you. I'm like, yo, I was pissed. I was gonna call corporate. I was that mad. I was gonna call corporate and say, yo, blah blah blah. But I'm like, you know what, forget it. So at that time, I was at my lowest, bro. I'm talking about my lowest during my life, man. I was like, yo, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, why I'm going through this? And then I'm like, you know what, forget this. I gotta make this work. I'm gonna figure this trading thing out. I gotta figure this trading thing out. So what I did was I decided to do Uber, right? And I decided to work for Uber pretty much around 3 o'clock, but I would trade during the day. Okay, I would trade during the day. And while I'm trading, okay, when I finish, boom, I get some lunch, and then after that, I go in the car and do some Uber rides, right? So that was my main thing. And while I was doing that, I was locked in because I was like, okay, I have to change this. I got to figure this thing out, right? Because I knew exactly what happened. I had to size down. I had to back test like crazy. I had to basically follow my rules. And I also had to educate myself. So I worked on those 4 things every single day, guys. Because at the time, I wasn't really educating myself. I didn't really believe in buying courses or seminars or anything like that, or coaching or anything, because I was like, I could learn for free. But I decided to educate myself. I decided to buy multiple courses. And, I took things from here, from there, and just start to build my own strategy. And then I started to see success. So I'm doing Uber, and I'm like, yo, I'm making, it came to a point where I'm making more from home than Uber. And it came to a point where I'm like, it don't make no sense to me doing Uber rides, So I was just doing that, and then I just stopped doing Uber, and I was just making money from home, and I was making way more than I was making from Uber. So that's how I started, guys. But I had to smack myself and say, yo, bro, like, what are we doing here? Okay? Let's lock down and let's really go to work, because you're blowing up in one day. We can't keep doing this. So that kept me going. And also, my why was, bro, I love working for myself. So it was the freedom that I love, working for myself. Even if I worked more hours than I worked at my job. Let's say, for example, let's say I worked a 9 to 5 and I worked for 5 days a week, right? But so let's say I'm working for myself and I'm working 12 hours, 13 hours a day. It didn't matter because I loved that, because I didn't work for nobody. I didn't have to wake up and, hope that my boss didn't write me up, or hope I didn't get laid off, or whatever the case is. So, man, I love the freedom, and I could take off anytime I want to. So that kept me going. Also, what kept me going was I didn't really want to just work until I'm 70 years old, right? I mean, how could I really enjoy life when I'm 70? My head's hurting, my knees are gonna be hurting, really? So I'm like, yo, I gotta make this work. And we all go through a period of time where, you have to say enough is enough. It took me years, right, to say enough is enough. It might take you months. It might, most of you guys don't even have to go through what I went through, all right? You could just do it much quicker. But some people are stubborn. And some people, it might take a long time, but you have to go through a period when you say enough is enough, right? Unfortunately, it took me a long time. The next thing is, you have to ask yourself, how bad do you want it, right? I remember always saying this to myself, right? If I give up now, it'd be a waste of time, because I knew at the time I wasn't giving it my all. I wasn't giving it 100%. Because I would switch strategies like crazy. I would break my rules and blow up in one day. So I knew for a fact I wasn't really giving it, my all. So I'm like, yo, bro, what are you doing? If I quit now, it'll be stupid, because later down the road, I'm going to regret it, right? So I'm like, nah, if I'm going to quit, I'm going to go out with a bang. I'm going to make sure that, it's going to be blood, sweat, and tears. I'm going to give it 180%. So if I do give up, I can say, yo, at least I gave it 180%, bro. Because I wasn't journaling like I was supposed to journal. I wasn't taking screenshots. I wasn't back testing. I wasn't educating myself. I wasn't buying courses. I wasn't trying to do coaching, mentorship, nothing. I was just basically hey, I hope this works. No, I wasn't treating this like a business. I wasn't collecting data. So I'm like, all right, it's time to step up my game. Let me treat this like a business. Let me make sure I do everything, right? So if I do give up, I can say, yo, I gave it my all. So you really have to be obsessed with this game that we call trading in order to make it, okay? It's not like honestly, in my opinion, it's not a hobby. It's not even a side hustle. You can kind of make it a side hustle, but I don't. Either you go all in or just stay home, like do something else. That's how I feel. But at the end of the day, you have to understand you are the problem. So you have to fix your problems, right? Treat trading like a business and find your sweet spot, because everybody in this trading game has their little sweet spot. You know, you might not trade exactly like your mentor, but you could take, you know, some pieces here and there from him or her and go from there. Because I think majority of traders, they do that, okay? They don't really trade exactly like the person that they learn from, but they trade similar, right? They might have, you know, similar thoughts, or the levels might be the same, or the way they enter might be different, right? So whatever the case is, find your sweet spot, find what you are good at, and stick to that. Because, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, this is the way to do it, or this is the way to do it. And yeah, it might work for them, but it might not work for you. So find your sweet spot, stick to your sweet spot, don't switch around, treat trading like a business, and go all in. Guys, all in. Okay? And at the end of the day, make me proud, man. Like, we can do this. So that's my story. And I know some of you guys are gonna have a good story too. Like, I know some of you guys are gonna make it. I know it. I know some of you guys are gonna be full-time traders. Let's get it.